What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today is Victory Friday as your Cleveland Browns took down the Denver Broncos 17-14, moving your Browns to 4-3 on a Thursday night victory. A lot to talk about here. A good game, nonetheless, but happy that we don't have to wait till Sunday to be pins and needles for the whole weekend. So I'm happy that we got the win. And Jeff, obviously we talked, but what are your feelings for today?
Let me set the scene for you. You just woke up. It's snowing outside. It's a nice think about a nice Christmas morning. Just think about it.
Did come down Super Bowl.
You come downstairs. Hold on. You come downstairs, and what's the best part about Christmas? Family. If you celebrate, what's the best part? Family. So who's our family? Who's our Browns family? You got Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, plus others. We love our family. Think about just the best. No, hold on. I'm getting somewhere here. Think about the best Christmas with all the gifts that you could think of. Everything on your list is there. You can't use them all at once. You can't play with every gift at once. But sometimes, here's the thing. Sometimes you're going to go to the best gift, okay? You're going to go to Nick Chubb. You love Nick Chubb, but sometimes, he's not available. The best gift, maybe your parents don't let you open the best gift first because they want to save that one, give it a little bit. Sometimes the last gift you open, or the most underrated gift, you might not have expected to get it, and it's the last guy on your roster, and it's D'Ernest Johnson. D'Ernest Johnson was probably the last guy on our roster, and he could start for NFL teams. We got one of the deepest rosters in the league, but you can't play with everything at once. You can't play with Austin Hooper. You can't play with Jarvis Landry. Harrison Bryant, sometimes he's going to have to block. Sometimes that toy's going to have to go sit for a while. Sometimes the toy needs batteries. Odell Beckham Jr. needs batteries. He needs to be sent back. Factory warranty, I don't know. And then you got the nice t-shirt. You got the cool animated t-shirt, but it's winter. You can't wear the animated t-shirt right away. You got to wait 6 weeks for the weather to warm up a little bit. That's Kareem Hunt. We're going to have to wait a little bit for him, but that's going to be a nice t-shirt. And we're one of the deepest teams in the league.
I didn't know where you were taking that for the longest
I'm
time.
Taking it to the house. D'Ernest Johnson, 150 yards. Case Keenum, serviceable. We'll talk about Case Keenum. Defense. The defense, I'm going to lose my mind eventually because they only gave up 14 points, but I felt like we should have gave up like 3.
Yeah. Let's start with the defense. Outside of that amazing opening you had, that was phenomenal. Talking about gifts, John Johnson finally giving us one with an interception finally where he doesn't have to push off to get it. It's weird because, Jeff, obviously you sent me the statistic during the week about how John Johnson was utilized before he came to Cleveland and how he has been utilized since he came to Cleveland. One of the first plays that you texted me about last night was him playing up at the line of scrimmage.
You got a tackle.
You know what? I did not think about it until yesterday when I was watching it. I did not realize that John Johnson spends more time, at what I would consider free safety. I guess you would just refer to it as the deep safety for now on this team, and how much time Ronnie Harrison spends towards the line of scrimmage, and how much time I think Grant Delpit might spend a little bit more time in the deep safety position, but great for John Johnson to get the interception. He played well. I think a lot of players on our defense stepped up and played well. Mac Wilson, I thought when he was in there, he played well.
Yes.
Greedy Williams having to step in again for Denzel, played well. The defensive line was good. Didn't really allow too much rushing to happen.
True.
But yeah, you're right. The defense is weird because Joe Wood sometimes will scheme up some really good series where we go 3 and out, or we have some, an interception off of, scheme. But I just don't love our zone coverage in any shape or form. And whenever we go back into it, I'll never know we should just play man the entire game because, yes, will Greg Newsome, get a couple of catches on him for a couple yard or for, a couple first downs? Sure. Will Denzel Ward have a couple of catches on him? Yeah, sure. Will all of our, guys covering have that issue? Sure. But when you have a D line that is oh my God, I was going to say compromised, composed of Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Takk McKinley, the Maliks, if you play man coverage and guys are pressed up and you force the quarterback to have to go through his progressions and actually look for other options than his first read, on the offhand that we actually do get a, holding call, our guys will get to the quarterback. And unfortunately, I think the zone coverage just does not allow for our pass rush to get there. And so, Joe Woods, I'm going to have to tell you, going against Pittsburgh next week, you're going to have to play man coverage, especially with how banged up they are. And you're going to have to take your chances. So that's my thought as far as the defense goes. Jeff, what were your, thoughts? Because obviously you're getting gray hairs. I can see them coming in with Joe Woods right now.
My thing with Joe Woods is that I see him play this man, and then Cortland Sutton has this hero catch on the sideline over Greg Newsome. And I think he gets nervous and goes back to zone. It's like, that was one of the best catches I've seen in the NFL this year. And it just happened to be on the Browns and happened to be on Greg Newsome, literally perfect coverage, nothing he could do. Ball was even better from Teddy. I'm going to disagree I'm going to disagree partially because I think I would describe the offense or the defensive line as very average last night. Bridgewater got hit 17 times last week and with 4 sacks. Now, I do think we probably should have had 3 or 4 sacks. I think that was also a credit to Bridgewater playing a little bit banged up. He did do some good escaping last night from the pocket. I thought that one blitz we had dialed up where, who was that? Delpit
missed the tackle.
He missed the tackle. So if I'm Joe Woods and I'm sending the guy who misses a tackle, I'm not thrilled about that, but I thought that play worked very well. They dialed up another blitz too that I can't remember. It was disguised very well. I don't know if it was Anthony Walker. Oh, why is Takk McKinley covering Cortland Sutton on a crossing route?
It's the dropping into zone coverage off of a blitz.
Why?
You bring the pressure off of one side heavy, and you drop the defensive end. I mean, we've seen it a couple of times already with Myles, and I don't think Clowney's done it yet, which is surprising considering he's like the closest to an outside linebacker.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, I don't like that either. I'm not a huge fan of it either. You might as well just rush that guy instead of having them try to cover, because if you're playing a somewhat confident quarterback, typically they'll if they recognize the blitz, they'll pick that up and they'll find that that guy. So.
Yeah, Teddy was picking up the blitz. I think the one time we might have sent Troy Hill and he just jumped in the air to try to bat the ball down. I think Teddy threw it right where Troy was coming from. So, I mean, you're not playing a complete rookie. You're not playing a rookie next week. But here's the thing with the touchdowns. I really don't care about giving up points. Like, believe it or not, you're going to give up points in the National Football League. But the busted coverages are so egregious on the touchdowns. That's 2 weeks in a row from like the same yardage. DeAndre Hopkins last week, and this week it was a running back where we have Malcolm Smith and Mac Wilson, and well, those two guys were covering Noah Fant. I'm pretty sure it was a tight end, and then Denzel's out in space. Now, this is the problem because I don't understand whose coverage this is supposed to be. From what I gathered on Twitter from some reliable sources, people that actually look at film, I think it was Denzel's assignment. Either way, Denzel hits him at like the 4 or 5. You got to tackle. Here's my being outlandish for week 7. This is one of the only hot takes I'll make all year, but I'm making it early just so I can look back on it. We do not offer an extension to Denzel Ward. That is going to be my hot take for week 7 and forward.
Or you don't think like they're going to just lowball him
at all? I think well, they might lowball him, but I think he's going to say he's an all pro. And I'm at this point, he has not he's not that playmaker that he used to be. And I know that once you get, decent reputation in the league, they stop throwing at you, but it's like he's given up catches. And then it's like when we need him to make one tackle, he cannot even make one tackle on a running back. I understand Javonte Williams is a beast, but it's like that could have been the game right there, giving up that touchdown.
Yeah. So my opinion on Denzel right now is that I think he's had a couple of bad DPIs on him where I think he's had
True.
really good coverage, and they've DPI'd him, and that's you can't take that back and be like good pass coverage, but I think he's played well enough. Obviously, no turnovers yet. But I really do think he's played well in coverage outside of, the same thing that's happened with Greg Newsome. There's been a couple of passes that outside of zone coverage, and man, it's not very often that Denzel is either not breaking up the pass or the guy's just not catching the ball. That being said, his tackling, it's tough. The zone coverage makes it for weird kind of angles to take, and typically your cornerbacks aren't your best tacklers. I think that's always been a knock on corners, is that they're not supposed to be the tacklers because typically they're just not good at wrapping up. But
if he's hurt again too, his availability has been going down every year. So that's a part of it too. I'm not saying he's bad per se. I just think that Barry's not offering him, I don't think he's offering him
top 5, top 10 cornerback money.
Unless we
we'll have to see how that
unless we
unfolds.
franchise tag him, but kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening really. We'll see. Again, these guys can go into next year with unrestricted or is it restricted free agent status? We'll see. Obviously, some things to clean up against, before going into Pittsburgh. Obviously, 10 days, so that's great. But we're going to move on from the defense now. I think we said all we could. The offense. A once great Dan Orlowski once said that an offensive line kind of makes up for a lot of your lacking areas in the game of football. And I think that was very evident last night. Jeff, you had your little tangent about Dearness Johnson, and I even took a little, jab at how people would have maybe explored the conversation after this game had Case Keenum thrown for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. I made a little jab of that. Maybe Dearness Johnson will have that starting position even when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt came back because of how well he did. Obviously, clearly a joke. Clearly just me, being a little funny. But Dearness had a great game. I'm very happy for him. But with the return of Jedrick Wills and being able to move Blake Hance into a position that's, I don't know what his actual, position of favor is, but I would assume that everyone assesses the left tackle position as, the most important and the hardest to play. So moving him from left to right tackle did wonders for our offensive line. That being said, big credit to the offensive line for opening up huge holes, and huge credit for Dearness Johnson having a ton of patience in the run game. And even Demetric Felton had some good runs. Even the practice squad guy, Kelly, right?
Good, very good.
He had a good run or two. So, overall, I'm really happy with how the offensive line and how the running backs looked. That was probably the best aspect of this game. That being said, there's the wide receiver conversation that we need to have, and then there's the quarterback conversation that we need to have. Jeff, before we get into that, what are your thoughts on the offense in general?
I'm going to be honest. Relativity, personnel, short week, Denver's defense banged up, so you got to take that into account. But between the injuries and what I watched optically, we only scored 17 points, so this is going to be tough to believe. I believe this was Kevin Stefanski's best called game all year. Better than the Chargers, because the Chargers game was basically just hand the ball off for the most part. We took our shots, but the first drive, and this is where we're going to start. This is where we might start arguing, which is fine because I like it. But the first drive, if I would have been blindfolded, just listening to the game and not the announcers, I would not have known who was starting quarterback. I would not have known if I didn't know prior. If you just sat me down random and you said, is this Baker or is this Case Keenum? I would not have known. It was the same exact drive. We're doing these dink and dunks to Austin Hooper. And we score a touchdown, perfectly orchestrated. Now, we did stall after that considerably. That was the issue. I wish we would have been up I wish we could have capitalized and got to 20 points real quick. But we did have a field goal blocked. So, we could have had 20. Weird situation there. But between the dinks and dunks, we started with the run game. Love it. Don't care who's back there. When you got mostly healthy, offensive line, Blake Hance is probably better than a lot of starting offensive linemen around the league. So pound the ball. Let's not go empty set. A couple times it was fine, but no empty set stuff to start. The middle.
What was the interesting thing? I'm sorry to cut you off really quickly. The interesting thing about the 5 wide set is with Keenum, and I don't know why it happened with Keenum. They would start out in the 5 wide, and then they would bring whoever back into the backfield.
Yeah, they brought Felton into the backfield a couple times.
Whereas when it's with Baker, we start out with the running back in the backfield and then shift them out 5 wide. Which with the injury doesn't make sense, but also just in general, I don't think makes sense for this offense to do. That being said, I thought that was a great improvement from weeks prior where we would just go 5 wide and, thankfully, we had one of our starting tackles back and we could actually pass protect. But continue with what you were going on about.
But I see the next gen stats of Keenum's completion and incompletion charts at halftime. Everything's a dink and dunk. He was 11 for 12 to running backs and tight ends, just like Baker. And then everybody out wide, it was the balls were bad or they just weren't getting open. And then you see the second half, he comes in and Stefanski uses the middle of the field. Middle of the field was open all second half, probably the most open I've seen it in a Browns game. Granted, I think Denver's defense is weak. I would agree with you that Denver's defense is weak, especially the linebackers. But it was refreshing seeing a quarterback step up into the pocket and no hero plays, one hero play. This reminded me of nobody take this out of context. I did not see a whole lot of difference between Baker and Case Keenum as far as the timeline of the game. He made his throws when he needed to. He had a couple of bad balls, which all quarterbacks do. And then he makes one hero play when we need to get the job done. He runs over a guy. He's in his mid-30s, and he runs over the dude for the first down. And he could have fumbled. That's exactly something that Baker Mayfield would do. We have 2 quarterbacks who are willing to die for the franchise. So here's the thing. And he could have had another touchdown. Jarvis wide open, and he was hit in the back. That was very disappointing because that play was worked to perfection, and Keenum got hit. But we all know, so here the problem is he's very one-dimensional, I think, because if you take away the middle and short, he can't throw long. At least he couldn't this week. I don't know if it's a timing thing, or we know his arm is not very good. We know his arm is subpar. But I liked what I saw, and I think that's a big win on a short week. I think we could all agree that Browns teams in the past, with everybody hurt, we would have got demolished in that game.
Absolutely. And I don't think you're going to get much argument from me in the sense of how the play calling worked to Case Keenum's advantage and how Case actually played. To be honest with you, he did what we paid him to do, and that's come in when Baker is hurt and win against bad teams. Because to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest. I'm not as impressed as a lot of people were with how he stepped up into the pocket, mainly because I think outside of the one run that he had, he wasn't very, and he wasn't getting too much pressure, but he just, the thing that everyone talks about Baker holding the ball way too long, at least when Baker holds the ball too long, he's moving out of the pocket. And granted, I think he's been better in years prior when he gets out of the pocket at actually looking down the field and passing it. Whereas now he just feels the need to run it, which I think he needs to improve on. That being said, Keenum did exactly what I thought he was going to do. My funniest thing is I come home last night, I get internet service, so I get Twitter. And one of the first things I see, because for some reason Twitter shows you tweets that happened 3 hours ago.
Right.
I see Colin Cowherd tweet about the first drive and him going you could sense the leadership in that drive. I'm like, I gotta believe that. I gotta believe with I'm gonna go talk to my buddy Jeff tomorrow. I gotta believe that there's no way this dude's gonna be like, that first drive is Case Keenum written all over him. And I'm like, I
It's
just gotta
Kevin
believe that.
Stefanski written all over him.
Yes. And so my only thing with, and I made a little bit of a tweet about it last night. There's not a thing that Case Keenum did that if Baker Mayfield is ready to go, if the team is letting him play or is going to allow him to play, there's no reason anyone should be saying Case Keenum should be playing over Baker Mayfield this season. Now, granted, this is going to be my end all be all in terms of the Baker Mayfield Case Keenum topic. Until it is decided that Baker Mayfield is either going to get the surgery or the injury, like it keeps bugging him, whatever, in terms of like he goes into the fetal position again. The man should be playing this season because I think it's important for this team. Jarvis Landry talked about it last night. Guys playing through injuries, it's a thing that has to happen because it shows a lot of leadership. Jarvis comes off the field, hobbles off, doesn't go into the injury tent right away. A lot of these guys, Denzel Ward goes right into the injury tent when he comes off the field. When you fight through things like that, and God, it just gets worse and worse with Baker because this week we find out the labrum's totally torn. Okay. I think we were all thinking it was partially torn, maybe. Then we get Thursday night update. I get Thursday night update from Jeff. He's got a broken bone in his shoulder or his arm, whatever it may be. Okay, this dude's in extreme pain, but thank God it's not in this throwing arm. For me, Baker's ball, and I think a lot of people want to ignore it, and you were alluding to it with Case Keenum, that he doesn't have a very strong arm. I think there's a couple throws last night that if Baker's the one throwing that ball with a little bit more zip, you talked about it a lot last year. The yards after catch for some of these pass plays, I think, are a little bit more ascertainable. That being said, I still don't think that we should rush anything. If this injury is something that, needs time to, the inflammation needs time to go down, then sure, go with Case Keenum. But at some point, Baker needs to make the return, and I think it's best for the franchise at this point. Now, that all being said, Jeff, do you have anything before I go on to one player that I think everyone wants us to maybe take a little bit of time to talk about?
So I agree for the most part, but so here's the thing. I think Baker's arm would have been beneficial last night, but I also think that there were plays where Case Keenum took a hit and made a good throw where Baker probably would have been outside the pocket and scrambled for like 1 yard and maybe gotten hit. And here's the thing. Everybody knows Case Keenum is not as talented as Baker Mayfield. If you actually believe that, fully healthy Baker Mayfield, if you actually believe that, you're literally just a troll. So there's not a whole lot of comparisons, but if I would have said the Browns win, our starting quarterback would have been 21 for 33, 199 yards and a touchdown. Once again, just like the first drive, I could not have told you who was the starting quarterback. That's a Baker Mayfield line. 200 yards, 66% completion, touchdown. Browns win. I've seen it this year already. Here's my point with next week. I'll give Baker next week, but if he's ready. But if he's in the blue tent once during the Steelers game, it's disappointing because I want him to be healthy. I want him to play great football, and I want the Browns to be up there at the top. But Baker hurt and Case Keenum healthy, we're not making a Super Bowl run. Sorry. That's just unlucky nature of football. If he's in the blue tent once next week, just shut him down. It is what it is. Our defense maybe comes around and carries. I don't know. But if he's taking away first team reps and he's out there playing 50% football, I can't justify keep playing the kid. I love his heart. I understand, but Stefanski's got to put his foot down.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. That all make very, sensible marks. So that being said, we got the Baker Case Keenum conversation out of the way. I think it's time that we have the Odell conversation. And I know, Jeff, we could probably, cherry pick on a lot of these and just make separate videos for them. But I like getting it out of the way in these videos because I think It's just a lot more, organic, and it's not really forced. That being said, Odell Beckham Jr., it is no longer a conversation of does Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. have chemistry issues? Because Case Keenum did his best to get Odell the ball, and Odell was just dropping the ball, 4 targets, 4 drops. There's something going on. I don't know if it's just the situation that he's in. You see a lot of people tweet about it. You see a lot of professional athletes, former athletes, Robert Griffin III, tweet about it and say, Odell's not being used correctly, this and that.
Mhm.
Well, you can't blame the Browns for trying or what they've been doing with him when he's dropping the ball on crucial 4th downs and in the flow of a drive, he's dropping the ball. There's only so many excuses that these guys can make for Odell. And I wanted to be one of those people who made the excuses. Oh, it's just, he's still trying to get back on track. Jarvis has been out, this, that, whatever. I love the dude, and I really hope that his comeback works out for him. But at the end of the day, our offense is just not built for an Odell Beckham Jr. Type player where you're getting 10 targets a day for 100 some yards and a touchdown. It's just not how it works. And again, this could be something that Odell is completely fine with, and we just don't know about it. But the media is just outrageous with this whole thing. And for me, if he's willing to just take the pay cut him and Jarvis take the pay cut this offseason, I'll be fine with rolling with him. But if that's not the case, after the season is over, I expect Odell to be on a different team.
Very fair, very true, and very well put with the money, because the money is really the end all be all with a lot of these guys. I think you see that a lot in this offseason. So here's my observation. Quick form. He got 6 targets, so you can't complain like, oh, you're not getting me the ball. All right, he had 6 targets, albeit it's Case Keenum. So are they 6 quality targets? Probably not, but some of them were. 2, as far as around OBJ, because I don't even look at OBJ anymore, because if he drops the ball, I'm just ready to. I'm done. I'm done when he drops the ball and he says, "Hey, my hands are 99% Purell." Dumb, but Our first drive, let's look at outside of Odell. Our first drive we score. I didn't see Odell once. I understand it's scripted, but you get quick outs to Jarvis, and now Case is in a rhythm with Jarvis. Perfect. Yep. And then I felt like you're correct though. I 100% agree. I'm calling it the OBJ effect. I felt like the drives that stalled, Case Keenum, just like Baker Mayfield, he's looking at OBJ. He snaps the ball. There's no reads. There's no, okay, OBJ is our first read, and we're going to look over here. It's either a crap ball or he slips and it hits him in the head. Okay, well, that's unlucky. And then in the second half, it felt organic. He was open on back-to-back plays. But here's the thing. I don't know. And he's hurt. So I don't know. It was that third quarter. He caught 2 balls back-to-back. And the second one was like 20 or 25 yards, sitting wide open on a nasty route. And then he gets off the field. Dude, you're hot. I don't know if someone's telling him come off, but like, you just caught 2 passes in a row. Get your ass back out there. At least you could get us a PI call probably. That's his best asset, is hopefully he could get us 50, 60-yard PI, because Case Keenum underthrows them, or it's a bad ball and it's a flag. But it's not organic, and I do like talking about it in succession, because we're more organic than Odell Beckham Jr. in this offense. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. That all being said, Victory Friday. We have 10 days till our next game. Time for players to get rested. Time for more information to become available to us, which is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Did he play a snap last night?
No, he was not even. I don't think he was on the bench. They took his gloves away. He was somebody said, I don't know if it was Christina Pink or Aaron Andrews. Somebody said he slipped on the sidelines pregame
in warmups,
and he hurt his groin.
Yeah, well,
MRI today for him and Denzel.
Right. So a lot of information for us to gather, obviously, in the next 10 days. A lot of headlines. Odell hurt, Baker hurt, Denzel hurt. A lot of players. Conklin is probably the biggest one to watch for this, because I like we saw, one guy comes back, one of your starting offensive tackles comes back, and the whole game plan comes back into play. So with that being said, Jeff, anything before we call this one quits?
Nope. Great one. Great video.
Great one. Well, everyone, we got another Cavs game tonight, so hopefully, went 0-1, but had a good little outing, I thought. That being said, we're going to have more of that coming to you. So stay tuned. Make sure you're watching some of those games so you can be part of the conversation. That being said, thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the bell notification. All that's free. Likes free, comments free. We really want to see those comments, see what you guys have to say about this game. Case Keenum, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., the defense, Joe Woods, Kevin Stefanski, all that good stuff. And then, that all being said, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.